Well, all hope is not lost, and the Astros found a way to salvage the season. That's right. It was almost over until the Rangers came to town, and the Astros won 2 out of 3. We're going to talk about this on Back to the Bullpen right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
We are back to the bullpen, folks. I'm here with Mike Stanton. And Mike,
you are so dramatic. The season was almost over.
Well, I mean, if you take the pulse of social media, Mike, I mean, you would have thought
you're not completely wrong there.
Well, it's all about getting that hook, right? Keeping the viewers here. Salacious news. We wouldn't be a media outlet if we didn't dramatize some of this. I mean,
no doubt.
But this is a dramatic. This is almost a miracle. The Astros beat the Rangers at home. They won a series at home. Can we take these 2 games, go back to the ALCS, and put us in the World Series?
Right. Well, I tell you what. I mean, game 1 of the series, you're like, oh man, here we go again. They're just same old issues. But I'll tell you what. Saturday and then today's game Sunday, the offense looked outstanding. Well, check that. If you go back to Saturday, the first half of the game, it was the same old thing. Whole bunch of opportunities to score. Couldn't really do anything. I think they left like 6 or 7 on in just the first few innings.
Right.
It was kind of hard to watch. But then what happened? I mean, listen, what all hitting coaches, all managers, anybody that really knows what they're saying, what they're talking about, what we always say, keep giving yourself opportunities. And that's exactly what they did. Then they had the big inning, and today looked like the good old Astros, man. They just took it to him. Christian Javier was outstanding, going 7 innings for only the 5th time in his career, and the first time since last May. So just an outstanding outing. And Ronel Blanco, gave up a couple runs, but he went 6 and gave up 2. Christian went 7 and gave up 2. So the pitching was back on track. Everything seemed to be a little bit calmer at Minute Maid Park.
Exactly. And, I don't mind Ronel Blanco giving up a couple runs. He did it early and the team came back.
Right.
They had his back. I would have hated for him to give up those runs if it was like maybe the Astros are up 5-1 and he gives up a 4 spot and then he leaves and the game's tied. But right now, he is third in all of baseball in ERA. Mm-hmm. He's got 3 quality starts to start this season. And, this guy is the bright spot in this rotation in the midst of all the injuries.
Well, I'd have to say that you're also seeing a much more mature, not just a guy with more weapons in his arsenal, but a much more mature pitcher. Last year, he struggled early. He gave up the couple runs, but then he righted the ship. He was throwing the changeup. He wasn't nearly as sharp as he had been in the 2 previous starts, but he still went out there and got the outs that he needed to get. Yeah. He held that powerful Rangers offense down and, ends up going 6 strong. Last year, he'd have probably given up 5 or 6 in the first inning, and then that would have been it. And you would have, looking at another dramatic bullpen day. So just did a really nice job, even though he wasn't nearly as good, nearly as sharp as he was in his 2 previous starts. Still, outstanding job doing one of the hardest things to do in all of baseball, which is facing the same lineup 2 starts in a row.
Yeah, and you would think that, okay, the Rangers, I mean, because they've got good hitters. I mean, even tonight, whenever, Seth Martinez came in, Simeon first pitch, hits a home run late in the game. Seager swinging first pitch, Garcia swinging. I mean, these guys were like, I'm pretty sure Boch was like, we're not going to let them get comfortable. I want the first ball you see, I want you to hit it. And, when you look at what JP France did, it was 1-1 on that Friday game. And then he had that third inning where things just fell apart. JP talked about he didn't feel right. He didn't really like what was happening. His locations weren't great. He made a few good pitches. But if you make a few good pitches and you equal that with a few bad pitches, those few bad pitches can hurt you. And they did.
Yeah.
But that was a 12-8 shootout, Mike. The Astros came back in the seventh inning. They love the seventh inning. They scored 5 that seventh inning. Mm-hmm. Saturday they scored 7. I mean, they like scoring late in games. And I remember a theme that we had a couple seasons ago where it seemed like the Astros, the 7th to the 9th inning, scored more runs than any team in baseball.
Yeah, beat up on bullpens. And that doesn't usually happen in Major League Baseball because bullpens are full of guys throwing 100,
Right.
And it was one of those remarkable years. But yeah, it seems to be a trend. But it just shows how important it is for the starting pitchers to keep the game close, because there's no such thing as a team designed to come from behind. It doesn't matter. You go back to the Bronx Bombers and 27 Yankees, they're still not designed to come from behind. So
right.
You're 1 run, 2 run, okay. But when you're down, crooked numbers, it's just the team can just look completely flat. But the last 2 games, the Astros did a really nice job of capitalizing on the opportunities that they got. And
right.
The starting pitching did what they were supposed to do, keep the team close until this offense can take over.
They did. And when you talk about episode is brought to you by Ram Shirts, ramshirts.com, where you get all your most comfortable H-Town shirts. You can get a Back to the Bullpen shirt. Just look us up. You can get so many different styles, so many different brands on there. Check out ramshirts.com today for your t-shirt needs. And if you want to support anything H-Town, from Cougars to Rockets to Astros, anything in between, go to ramshirts.com. Do that today. Take over. They did. And when you talk about runners in scoring position, you talked about later in that game, the Astros in that first game were 5 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Right. That's why I call it the respectable win with the RISP. 3 for 9 tonight with runners in scoring position, and 6 for 16. I mean, You've got a team that is going, I'm doing the math real quick, 14 for 34 with runners in scoring position. On top of that, you had Jose Altuve go 9 for 18. He's got 7 home runs off of Nathan Eovaldi. And, can Jose just be cocky at one post-game?
One time.
Can you just say, I own this guy? Because I don't know if you heard and I don't know if it was McTaggart or whoever asked him, like, what is it about Eovaldi? You seem to have an easy time. And he goes, no, it's like, look, man, every time I go up there, it's really good. And he
got good stuff. And he's going to always give credit. The funny thing is, this is a trend, not just for Jose, for Major League Baseball. When a hitter, really has quality at bats against a pitcher, they're always going to sing his praises. They're always going to say how good their stuff. Man, he throws really hard, this stuff. When a guy gets you out all the time, you tell him how much you stink. He stinks. I can't believe this guy ever gets me out. It's the exact opposite. But no, Jose is never, ever, ever going to take the low road. He is always going to take the high road, because that's the character of Jose Altuve.
Exactly. So we've got Jose Altuve. I mean, Jeremy Pena got hits. Look, Singleton and Abreu actually contributed this weekend. And it was funny when I said it earlier, when I was talking to the Locked On people, they were like, you said that almost like you were surprised. And I said, well, I'm just going with the trends. Look, everyone's in a Major League Baseball uniform and on a roster because they're there for a reason. They can do something. And as long as there is someone that puts on that uniform that says Houston or Astros, you want them to do well. You need them to do well, especially Abreu, because of the amount of money they're paying him. And I mean, he came along, Mike, he has one of the highest averages with runners in scoring position of anybody in baseball. He's been a stalwart first baseman, former MVP. He's got the resume.
Yeah. Batting champion. Yep.
Yeah, batting champion. He just struggled here in Houston, and you need Abreu to come through. You need Singleton. As long as he's on this roster, you need him to contribute, because if he doesn't, when you look at the box score and you see Singleton and Abreu back-to-back going into this series, you had to scratch your head and go, oh, man, I really hope they do something, because they have struggled all year.
Yeah. And you know, we've talked about it in the past already. It's all sample size. You know, if they have this stretch, it's later in the season, you know, you've already gotten into the flow of things, but since everything was raw and early and the sample size is so small, yeah, I mean, and listen, they just simply haven't played good baseball. I mean, we have to tell the truth here.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not a good team. It doesn't mean they're not going to play good baseball, because we saw that in the last 2 games. But, you know, this was just one of those situations that the starting pitching was struggling. You're playing from behind every day. And anytime you do that, the team is going to look flat. You know, Abreu, not a batting champion. He's Silver Slugger, which was
Silver Slugger. Okay.
Kind of a batting champion. Okay. But had to correct that. But yeah, this is, you know, what this really has done, this has let everybody else on the roster take a deep breath, relax. Okay, we won a few games. We've won a couple series now. We've hit with runners in scoring position. We've drove in some runs that we needed to drive in. Starting pitching is lined up again, you know, so everything seems to be, at least for the moment, a touch bit calmer.
Yeah, and these last 2 games, we didn't have Alex Bregman. He was sick. He's been an illness. Dubon stepped in a big way at third base. I mean, I think Dubon looks good at third base. You know,
Dubon looks good everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, but you know, this is what I'm wondering. And look, I don't know what's going to happen with Bregman. I don't know if he signs here. I don't know if he's gone. But if they don't go out and get a quote unquote another starting third baseman, to me, Dubon is a guy that I know you want his utility-ness. Like, I know you want to be able to use him, but he is a guy that if you've got to bring someone in and they're not quote unquote a full-time guy, Dubon could be a guy that fills that role, because he simply, you know, talk to me about him real quick. And I don't want to go too far into it, but did you ever play with guys that were like Dubon? It seemed like everything they did, they just did it really well.
Sure.
They seem to really separate themselves from.
Yeah, every team needs that super, what I coined a couple years ago, super utility guy. Marwin Gonzalez was that guy. You know, that was, you know, he could play but actually he wasn't as good as Mauricio Dubon is. Dubon is actually above average in anywhere he goes, but his value is in that versatility.
Right.
I don't think he's nearly as valuable, even if he's playing third base every day. He's not as valuable as he is, because what he really, as he is as a utility player, because he basically lets you get another roster spot and you can put a hitter, you know, like a Singleton or somebody like that you don't have to cover defensively, because Mauricio can play all over everywhere and play exceptionally well. So I understand what you're saying. If he has to play somewhere for a week, you have no qualms defensively about him doing it. And I'll tell you what, after that long hitting streak he had at the beginning of the season last year, he's a different dude at the plate too. I mean, he used to be an out. When he got traded over, I mean, it was almost like you could knock the bat out of his hand. I mean, you couldn't, but you know, during that hitting streak at the beginning of the season last year, he first was hitting everything the opposite field. Then all of a sudden you started getting the head out and driving the ball to left field, hit a couple home runs, you know. Yeah. Today's game, great at bat on a fastball that was chin high. He gets on top of it, hits it down the right field line. Adolis Garcia actually dives for it. It looks like he almost caught it. He didn't. It actually bounced in front of him. But, I mean, just an outstanding job of getting on top of that ball. And not because, listen, the way Garcia was running at that ball, if that ball has any air under it at all, he's probably going to catch it. But that was a sinking line drive, and that was a big part of the game. That allowed the Astros to extend their lead.
We want to thank our friends Ever Cruz and Company at State of the Art Barbershop in Friendswood, Texas, 1616 South Friendswood Drive. I want you to check them out. If you are in the Friendswood area, Friendswood, Clear Lake, Dickinson, Bay City, South Houston area, you'll have to look up state-of-the-art barbershop at 1616 South Friendswood Drive. They got you from everything from the beard shave to the haircut. It could be men, kids, women. It doesn't matter. Just don't bring your dogs up there. They don't do dog grooming, but I can tell you they are dogs in the barbershop. That's right. Evercruise has you covered at state-of-the-art barbershop, 1616 South Friendswood Drive. Tell them that Back to the Bullpen sent you. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. I recommend them. 10 out of 10.
Allowed the Astros to extend their lead.
Yeah, I mean that's huge. And with all this like going well for us offensively, it's a really good thing that Justin Verlander just completed his second start. Dana Brown did say they liked where the velo was. I think his pitches were less erratic because when we talked to Justin after his first one, he said he thought his pitch placement was a little erratic. There were some things he wanted to work on, things he wasn't pleased with. But overall, he said he liked that he was able to come back, after an inning. He goes, you know what? You need to throw 39 pitches in an inning or 29 pitches in an inning when you're trying to get ramped back up, because that's real life. That's what happens in baseball. So from what I understand, Espada and Brown both said that he will join the club in Washington. Mm-hmm. Fromber also has said that he said, and I quote, I do not need a minor league rehab start. I'm feeling good. I'm going to start throwing on Tuesday. So I think the anticipation is that after the Washington series, he could be back, but there's no timetable yet for him. Yeah. How good is it, though, to get these guys, at least we have light at the end of the tunnel for them coming back?
Well, JV, I mean, the light is bright and it's right in our face because he has completed what he needed to complete. And, you have to remember, JV is a little bit of a different creature. An average pitcher, when he says his stuff isn't right, okay, that means he's probably can't get anybody out at all. When JV says his stuff isn't right, the dude can still pitch. We know that. So, but he feels better about where he is. So yeah, we'll see JV sometime over the weekend. That is great news. Fromber, I have to still be a little bit weary of this. Okay. He hasn't really extended himself. Now, what he did say is there's no more pain. So That's awesome, because we really don't hear that from major league pitchers. When they go down with an elbow soreness or flexor tendon or something like that, we all know where it ends up. A large portion of the time it ends up Tommy John. But so it's great that he's feeling good. It's great that they have an idea of when he could come back. I'm gonna kind of stay reserved, not get too excited until we actually see him.
I hear you. No, yeah, and that's good. And that's why we always want to go back to the bullpen with Mike Stanton, because with your years of service, I mean, you understand that more than anybody. So let's do this. Before we wrap up, let's just look ahead to the three starters that we have going against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
We have Spencer Arrighetti, who had a very, very tough major league debut. He's at home, which I think a little bit more friendly confines, obviously. And then he is going against Darius Vines.
Yeah.
Who basically, he has had a couple starts. He's not thrown that many innings, but he hasn't given up that many hits. 6'1" guy, right-hander. He's one of the Braves prospects, and he's filling a hole right now. He was a 2019 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
Out of Cal State Bakersfield. So we've got Darius Vines versus Arrighetti. So two young arms, rookie arms. This could go either way for either team. It could be a bullpen game, but then Arrighetti could catch lightning in a bottle and recover from last start. And
he did. He pitched well the first couple innings. He actually got it was that third inning, and if you remember, that nightmare of an inning for Spencer started with an infield hit.
That's true.
That snowball started rolling down the hill, and there was nothing that could stop it. Now, Kansas City Royals offense was hot also.
They were
led by Bobby Witt Jr. So hopefully, maybe a few less butterflies, has a better idea. facing an extremely good offense in
That's
the
true.
Atlanta Braves. I mean, you're talking about this is one of the premier teams in Major League Baseball. So he's got his work cut out for him. And Darius Vines on the other side, not a hard thrower. He throws a lot of cutters. He's a cutter, fastball, change-up pitcher. He's got a slider too, but doesn't throw it very often. But you're talking in the low 90s. So you're not talking about a guy that's got really big dynamic stuff. He's not going to go out there and light up the radar gun. But the offense for the Astros, this is an extremely good offensive team also. So, yeah, what to expect? Have no idea. That's why you have to actually watch. I will be at the game tomorrow. I am doing pre and post game for this series. So,
Nice.
Fans, if you're out at Minute Maid Park, come by the set there in center field by the Budweiser Brew House and say hello.
Yeah, definitely. And so you'll get to see Hunter Brown. He needs a bounce back start versus Reynaldo Lopez, a very good young pitcher for the Braves. And then game 3 is Max Fried. He's 1-0 with an 8.74 ERA. And then JP France last start, I think, admitted some areas where he struggled. I think he will figure it out. JP France is a workhorse. He seems to me, I'm less worried about JP. Hunter Brown, and let's just kind of make this our final thing we cover. There's a lot of people saying, okay, so who is Hunter Brown? He was stellar and crushed it in the bullpen. He had all this promise, had all this expectation. We know what his potential is. He's still a very young pitcher in his young career.
Yeah.
Is this just part of the growing pains of becoming a major league? Because they still project him to be one of their top 3 guys in this rotation when it's all said and done.
Well, if the Astros are going to be where they want to be, where they expect to be at the end of the season, well, Hunter Brown's got to turn it around.
Yeah.
And, what I saw in his last start in Kansas City, again, hot Kansas City Royals team. Pitchers throw the ball down the middle all the time and they're not hit when things are going right. Well, when they're not going right, you throw it down the middle, they get hit. And that's what I noticed more than anything else. His location was he threw so many pitches, in the heart of the plate, in the middle height of the strike zone. Just made a lot of mistakes, and the Kansas City Royals capitalized on it. JP France, I thought a similar situation, but I saw in that inning, it hasn't done this very often, but I thought that he talked about how he wasn't comfortable. I saw that during the outing because you saw his tempo pick up a little bit. He was stressing out. He couldn't get the ball to the plate fast enough. And a lot of times when that happens, you make more mistakes and the ball gets hit. So, it's things that happens. Young pitchers have to learn from this. Listen, if you went out there and you shoved all the time, well, you're not going to learn anything. You don't learn anything until you get your rear end handed to you a few times. And that's where these guys are.
Exactly. And I think this is the perfect team to have those bumps. And it's early in the season. And that's what I think people forget. And my final point is I would much rather these struggles happen now, early on, than go on some hot run and then lose your position in a playoff run, go into the playoffs cold. But there's a lot of baseball in between.
Oh, man.
I mean, we got the All-Star break. We got the trade deadline. We got so many things. We've got, Garcia, McCullers coming back midseason. We've got Urquidy will be back at some point. I mean, we've got all these things. So when the chips fall into place, Mike, I think this team still stands. And look, the Rangers may be in first place, but they're only 8-8. Yeah. This division is extremely tight. I think the Angels and Oakland A's fall eventually, and I think it's between the Rangers, the Mariners, and the Astros. And how they end up, we don't know. But so final thoughts. Do you think the Astros can get a second series win in Atlanta? And if they can, what do they have to do?
They're going to have to pitch. I mean, they're going to have to get Ronald Acuna Jr. out. He's off to another good start. They're going to have to keep the ball in the ballpark. This is a very powerful team.
Yes.
And on top of that, they're going to have to continue pitching wise what they've done the last couple days. And, like I said, the Atlanta Braves, this is one of the premier teams in all of baseball. I mean, hopefully this is a good tight series. It can be a good barometer on where you are, but the Astros should be going into this with some confidence now after winning 2 out of 3 and the way they did it against the Texas Rangers.
I like that. And I think there's a lot more optimism in the air. And I was, thank you for calling out my melodramatic intro. I was just trying to read the pulse and read the room, but yeah, this has been another great Back to the Bullpen episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for our 209 subscribers. Please check us out. Spread the word. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. So check us out. Again, if you see Mike at the game this week, tell him hi. Tell him you listen to the show.
Heck yeah.
And for all of us at Back to the Bullpen, y'all have a good one and go Stros.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat it low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking.